Alright, so welcome back. This week we're going to be talking about complementary colors. So as a reminder, we're going to quickly go over what the primary and the secondary colors are. So if you take a look at this color wheel, remember your primary colors are your red, yellow, and blue, and your secondary colors, which are made by mixing primary colors together, are your orange, green, and purple. So when we're thinking about complementary colors, we're thinking about colors that are basically opposite of one another. So I've got my 6 squares here, and I'm going to fill in each square side by side, and those are going to be your 2 complementary colors. Got it? My first set, I'm going to fill in my red, and if you remember what was directly across from that red on the color wheel, that's right, green. Perfect. And when I think about red and green, something immediately comes to mind. I just start thinking about the holiday. So complementary colors are often used in different color schemes like sports teams, logos, things that are familiar with your mind. Next set, I'm going to go with my blue. And what am I going to fill in right beside that blue? That's right, orange. One thing that immediately can come to my mind is Fanta. The Fanta logo is blue and orange. So last, I'm going to go with my final set of complementary colors. I'm going to start with that yellow, the primary. And what's that final color? That's right, we got purple. So immediately when I start to think of yellow and purple, the LA Lakers comes to my mind. Complementary color schemes are used in things in society that are very recognizable. You might think of some things that I might not have even thought of, where you might have seen red and green together, blue or orange together, yellow and purple together. Those complementary colors, again, they're opposite of one another, and oftentimes they work well together when you're creating artwork. All right, so check out this week's project. This is what I like to call my complementary colorful hands project. So in order to do this project, you're going to need, of course, your drawing paper, and you're going to need your primary and your secondary set of colored pencils. We're going to trace our hands. We're going to use organic lines coming from the center of our hands, and then afterwards we're going to color the inside of the hand with either primary or secondary colors, and then we're going to color the outside of the hand with the opposite. If the inside of the hand is primary colors, then the outside of the hand will be secondary colors. First thing that I'm going to do to get started with this project is I'm going to trace my hand. The hand that I write with, I'm going to draw and trace with that hand. The hand that I don't write with, that's the one I'm going to trace. I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to trace the side of my hand with that pencil, just like so. As I'm tracing, I'm making sure that I don't go underneath my fingers or my hand. I'm not rushing, taking my time, tracing in between the fingers. Again, I'm not going to go underneath, just like so. Continue until I'm all done. So for my next step, I am going to draw a dot with my pencil in the middle area of my hand. So I'm going to look at the hand and I'm going to kind of try to find the middle. I'm going to draw a little dot. Now when you're tracing and when you're drawing those little dots, make sure when you're doing that not to press really hard with your pencil. You want to be able to see it, but you don't want it to bleed through all of your color. We're going to use some organic lines, and we're going to have those coming out of the center of the hand from that dot, and we're going to draw, I would say, probably 7 to 9 of those lines. 2, here's another one. 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think I'm going to do maybe 1 or 2 more. 7, get 8. And as a matter of fact, I think I might get 1 more right here because I had a large space that was kind of open on my paper. I'm going to color the inside of my hand with the secondary colors. The purple, the green, and the orange. And then I'm going to color the outside with the red, yellow, and blue. Before I do that coloring, I'm going to label the colors on my paper so I'm not getting confused as I color. I'm going to use my regular pencil to label the colors, and I'm going to label them very lightly on the paper. Now I'm going to write them out a little bit darker so you guys can see it, but when you're labeling your colors, write it lightly so that you can pick it up with an eraser. So let's say right here I'm starting with my purple. I'm just going to put a little P right there. All of this shape right here will be purple. Then my next color, green, I'm going to put a G there. All of this shape right here, inside of the hand, the fingers, that's green. Then I'm going to rotate to orange. Again, we're creating that rhythm, that pattern going through this drawing. This is all orange. Then back to my purple, and I'm going to just keep going clockwise around my paper. Green here, all that's green. This is orange, and then I'm going back to my purple, green, and orange. All right, so I've labeled all of the inside of my hand and my arm with the colors that I'm going to be using. Okay, after I do that, I'm going to label the outside. Okay, so if my green is here, then what's the complementary of green? That's right, red. So I'm going to label that red. Orange, complementary is blue. I'm going to label the outside blue in this section. Purple, complementary is yellow. I'm going to label that yellow, just like so. And as you can see, I missed the spot here. This is purple as well. Okay, green here, so the outside would be red. So now I've got everything labeled out. I'm ready to start with my color and my shading. Okay, so now I'm going to push on. I'm going to go ahead and grab those complementary colors, and I'm going to start shading in this purple area right here. So before I start, I'm going to go ahead and erase that P that I wrote, and I'm going to get started with that shading. So just like we've done before, I'm going to start near the inside where this dot's at, and I'm going to go outward while I'm shading. Okay, so I'm going in that soft circular motion, starting darker inside of that shape, taking my time, and I want to color everything in just like so. I'm going to continue moving up on the paper. Hopefully you guys can see that. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult with my hand angles for you to see it. I'm doing my best so you guys can see that there. I'm going to continue to shade in. Along the line, I'm going to make it a little bit darker, just like so. Shade in that whole color. All right. Get to the edge, continue shading, just like that. Okay. I'm going to continue up through here, shading in this whole area. Maybe along the edges I want to make it a little bit darker to even give it more of a three-dimensional quality. Maybe along the edges of the fingers I'm going to make it darker, and as I get towards the middle of the fingers, then maybe I can lighten up a little bit, and it might give it a more three-dimensional, realistic look. Okay. Just like so. Now that I've got that purple filled in, it's time to move on to the next color. All right, so the next color here would be green, and I'm going to go ahead and just show you for the purposes of time. I'm going to move on to the yellow, the outside. So I'm going to grab that primary color yellow, which is the complement of purple, and I'm going to begin to shade that area in. Okay, starting darker, and as I move upwards, I'm going to get a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. I'm going to shade all of that area in, taking my time, smooth transitions like we've been doing. We don't want it to look rough and sketchy. We want it to look smooth. Okay, give it that soft quality so that it's pleasing to the eye when you look at it. And you're just going to continue shading in. moving upward, getting a little bit lighter as I go, but I'm still applying that pencil to that paper, not leaving it white. Oops, and I forgot to erase my Y here. I'm gonna go ahead and erase that Y real quick here. Again, just being mindful that I'm shading in soft, circular, long motions so the transitions are smooth. I'm going all the way up to the top. And a lot of times along the edges, of course, I like to darken it up a little bit more, give it a little bit more depth, more of a three-dimensional quality. I think you guys are getting the gist or understanding how this is going to work. I'm not going to go and complete the whole project right now. We're just going to imagine that I shaded the whole thing, okay? We're going to imagine everything is shaded in. So maybe got a little darker areas through here, kind of like what I was saying. Along the edges, might want to darken it up a little bit. Just like so. So we're imagining that we're done with the whole project. We've got everything shaded in. Once you've shaded all of your colors in and you've got the whole hand and the whole background built up, what you can do now is you can add even more color depth. And the way that you can do that is by grabbing other colors and putting them on top of what you've already done. So if you think about the color wheel, colors that are very close together on the wheel, they typically blend well together. So purple and blue are right by each other on the wheel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that blue and I'm just going to blend in some of that blue in with some of my purple. And you see how I'm creating my own color and I'm creating some depth to that blue and that purple? That's what I want to do. So I want to go in some of the darker spots and I want to just really create some more depth to the color, to the shading, okay? Give it some highlight, some low light, give it some variety, make it interesting for someone to look at it. Just like so, perfect. And I'm gonna do the same thing inside of this yellow. I'm thinking about colors on the color wheel that are close together. Yellow and orange are very close. So I'm gonna take this orange and inside of here, I'm just gonna go and drop a little bit of orange in there. Give it some depth, give that color some life, some energy, just like so. Shading those colors in, blending those colors together. Color blending is gonna help you along the way. When we start using a little bit more complex materials like oil pastels and chalk pastels, watercolors, things of that nature, blending color is gonna help you a lot. It's gonna make your artwork far more interesting than just always having flat color. So you see how I'm building that up, I'm giving it some depth. Another thing that I can do along the edge of my hand is I can create a shadow, okay? And I want you guys to do that. Take that darker color, maybe the orange, maybe the red, and on one side of your hand and fingers, shade it in kind of dark. And you're gonna start to create a shadow on that paper. You guys see that? You see how that shadow's forming? Just like so. So you just continue pushing, you continue working it. Don't be afraid to experiment. You can blend your colors in a little bit. Really make this project stick out, make it stand out, okay? I know you guys are gonna be doing a great job here, so I look forward to seeing the work that you produce. As you see, I was tracing over those pencil marks a little bit. This is what the finished product should look like. As you can see, I used that complementary color scheme. Inside of this hand, I used the secondary colors, my oranges, my greens, and my purples. And then directly outside of that color, I used my primary colors. Once you've done all of the shading and you filled in all of your colors, then again, you can go inside of some of those colors and you can start to blend in colors from the wheel that are close to each other. For instance, right through here, where I've got this orange, I put some red in there and I even added some yellow highlight along the edge because those colors blend very well with that orange, okay? And as you can see here, I took a darker color and I began to create shadow on the right side, maybe left for you, of my hand, just like so. You see that shadow? And that's gonna give your drawing that three-dimensional quality, and you're gonna do an amazing job. Keep that color scheme in your mind. Thank you and good luck.